are not turned on. We could change them, but we haven't.
It's fine.
So I would just pass this to make sure that you're picked up on the recording. Okay, for those of you that have joined us, welcome. We're going to give it about 30 more seconds, and then this is our fiscal team, and we're going to have them introduce themselves. They will be providing the presentation for the fiscal training, and I think we are at exactly 11:45, so I'm going to let you guys start, introduce yourselves, and then get right into it.
Hi, welcome to the fiscal portion of the 2023 contracts training. I am Donna Wilkerson. I am an accountant with ORD.
And as you see on the screen, we have Roxy, who's the fiscal manager, and my name is Philip. I'm the assistant fiscal manager. We also have Mike Fife, who takes care of CDBG, ESG, and SSBG. So he's the prime. Those are his primary, and he's out today. And then we have Troy as well, and then we have Susie and Sam. So that is all of us, and this is our contact information should you need to get a hold of us for any of your questions or questions for expenses or anything like that.
These are our fiscal requirements. Please submit your billings either monthly or quarterly and in a timely fashion. The final billing for your contract must be submitted within 30 days of the end of the period of performance specified in your contract. The following slides include further information about the documentation that needs to be submitted, as well as information about how to receive payments from the county via direct deposit. This is a sample of what your Zoom Grants homepage will look like to submit your invoices and quarterly reports. You will need to navigate to the Approved tab. Invoices and reports can only be added to approved applications. This is an invoice in Zoom Grants. The invoice number is a number assigned by your organization. Please assign a unique invoice number to the invoice you submit. You will need to specify the period of performance each invoice covers. This may be 1 month, such as April 2023, or 1 quarter, such as April through June 2023. A required piece of backup documentation for each invoice is the billing cover sheet. You will also need to upload documentation substantiating your invoice.
I'm going to say something in addition to that. In the past, I know that we've had sometimes where invoices don't get submitted for a while and we end up getting 6 months worth or something like that. They're not submitted timely. Just know that when things like that happen, the payment will be severely delayed because we have to go through all of that documentation, check all of the backup. So it makes it more difficult when it's in smaller bite-sized pieces. It's easier to go through those payments and get them out the door.
When an invoice is submitted into grants, the individual submitting the invoice certifies that, to the best of their knowledge, the information is true, accurate, and complete. The expenditures, disbursement, and cash receipts are for the purposes and objectives set forth in the terms and conditions of the federal award. And this is where you would go to find your billing cover sheet that is required. Here is an example of the billing cover sheet. A blank template for your program will be available in Zoom Grants. This cover sheet will need to accompany each invoice you submit. You will need to break down the amounts requested by budget line item. The total on the cover sheet The total on the cover sheet should match the invoice total on the Zoom Grants invoice. 2 signatures are required on the cover sheet. 1 signature is the person who prepared the invoice, and the second signature is a different person who has reviewed the invoice. On the cover sheet, please type the names of the individuals signing the sheet.
And I just want to add on the cover sheet, when I first got here in our department, this was one of the biggest reasons why I ended up denying payments or sending them back to be re-signed, because of when I first got here, there were a dozen or so submissions that did not have signatures. So just keep that in mind, make sure they're signed. Otherwise, they're just going to be sent back, and it's just going to start the process again.
Your contract budget includes salaries and benefits you will need or are you requested.
Sorry, I was just gonna check the mic. Might just have to talk a little closer. I think you guys are pretty quiet.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Over fiscal,
We don't
we're
talk to
known
people.
for boring and quiet. That's what we do.
All right. All right. This documentation should indicate the pay periods included in the request for reimbursement, the names of the employees, the number of billable hours each employee spent on the project, each employee's hourly rate, and if applicable, a breakout of the benefits expense incurred by your organization for each employee. This documentation may be a spreadsheet or report generated from your accounting or payroll system. Please do not submit time cards, check stubs, or documentation that includes employee social security numbers, bank account information, and/or home addresses. In the event of an audit, additional documentation supporting these expenses may be requested.
I'm just going to reiterate the bulleted in red. We don't want people's social security numbers with expenses for obvious reasons. So just remember that as people are submitting them. Right here, closer. Is that better? Okay. I didn't realize I had to get so close. All right, there you go. Yeah, don't submit expenses with social security numbers and personal information.
This is an example of a spreadsheet documenting payroll expenses. Each employee is listed by name as well as each pay period being billed for to demonstrate the calculation of the total billable wages, each employee's hourly rate of pay, and the number of hours they spent on each project. Each pay period has also been included to support the benefits amount being invoiced. You might either break this out by type of benefit, like the top example, or you may express this as a percentage of total billable wages, like the bottom example there.
Questions?
Will you restate that question for the recording?
Yeah. Say that question again. Okay, so for the recording, the question was about payroll not matching the expenses due to payroll being, you know, bi-weekly, and so it's not going to match the month expenses because you're going to have a gap in payroll. I would say that whatever the how would we want to do this? Karen, do you have a good answer to that? Well, Yeah, I think it'd be fine if it was just if it's just the dates, even though the payroll might overlap 2 different months. In the event of a monitoring, if they ask for that information, they could verify that. I don't know of any other requirements that we have specifically on those gaps.
Yeah, the only requirement would be as you get to the end of your contract and the end of your period of performance, you're going to need to take a look at that. So as far as reporting in the general ledger, that is fine. You're going to, it's almost already the cash basis rather than the accrual. But when you get to June 30th, or in SSPG case, May 30th, you're going to want to make sure that if your payroll overlaps that you're only showing the hours that are attributable that were expensed during the period of performance. That's the only time it's going to be an issue.
Okay. All right.
All right, here is another example of a report generated from an accounting or payroll system. As you can see, the employee ID is in place of the employee name, which is acceptable as long as each employee is assigned a unique ID. Your contract budget may include a line item for operational expenses. When you upload your backup documentation, please include itemized invoices or receipts and exclude any sales tax from the amount you are requesting on your invoice. If your operational expenses are for direct client assistance, please include the client name or unique client ID number that correlates to your on-site files along with the date of the expense and the amount. Please refrain from submitting bank statements and/or check copies. In the event of a monitoring visit, documentation supporting these expenses may be requested. If travel expenses are an approved line item in your contract budget, you will need to provide justification for the travel. This includes itemized receipts for fuel, lodging, airfare, and any other associated expenses you are requesting to be reimbursed for. If reimbursements for mileage are part of your approved contract budget, you will need to provide documentation to support that piece of your invoice. This documentation should include employee names, dates, and program purposes of the trip, the number of miles traveled, and at the beginning and ending odometer readings. In the event of a monitoring visit, additional documentation may be requested. And please note that the amount shown here for the mileage rate is incorrect. It is actually 0.655 cents per mile at the moment, but you can always find this on the IRS website. If your contract includes a budget for indirect cost, the contract will also include the improved indirect rate. The rate your organization uses for indirect costs should be consistent across all of your contracts. The purpose of the indirect budget is to help cover your organization's general and administrative costs. The county requires a supplier vendor management for each supplier it pays. The county also offers an EFT payment option rather than sending a check. The EFT option is generally a quicker way for your organization to receive payments from the county. If your organization has never received payments from the county, or if it has been a while since your organization last received a payment from the county, you will need to sign up for PaymentWorks. If you need to update your organization's EFT information, you will need to ensure your information in PaymentWorks is correct. All right, this concludes the fiscal portion of the contract training. Thank you for your attendance. If you have any questions regarding the content presented, now is your opportunity to ask those questions.
Okay, if anybody has questions, I'm going to walk this microphone around so we can all hear you. You got burning something.
that it is a secured site that you're able to log on, sign up to where you can have a supplier number created for you. You will provide your email, your routing, your account number, and everything like that so that you can be reimbursed back through EFT. No, if you're already set up to receive EFT, you're fine. If you need to change any bank account information, you would go onto PaymentWorks and set up new account information. If anything is going to change, you would just need to go onto PaymentWorks. If you've never been invited, Amanda or myself or one of the program side can invite and send an invitation through PaymentWorks. Yes, everything was moved over. It's just for a brand new supplier. If you've never been set up, we would need to send you an invitation and then you would go through the steps and instructions would be sent at that time as well. Any other questions?
Hold on.
We've got 2 microphones, but it was making all kinds of sounds, so I don't know where the rogue microphone is.
I try to speak out. So on the home grant, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. So on the home grant, where there's the direct assistance and the admin, in our contract, it states that all the expenses up through June 30th need to be, December 30th need to be submitted by January, I think it was the 15th. However, we missed some of the admin staff that were not picked up. Are we allowed to go back and pick up that admin staff currently, or do we just not get reimbursed for it?
Good question.
I mean, the last year period is closed already, but if it's in your contract to get paid for those expenses, I wouldn't see why we couldn't still do that and pay those expenses. Is that, unless, Karen, unless you object?
I'm not in the home program, but what I will say is that is going to require because the year is closed out, we've closed out 2022. I know it can be done, but it needs to first of all be approved by the program manager, which we don't have right now. So Mike Gallegos is both our division director and he is our program manager acting for the home program. So Phil will log that request. Will you reach out to Mike Gallegos? And if you don't have it, we will give you that information because he's currently making decisions for the home program until we get a home program manager hired. So as that relates to anybody else on any of the CDBG, ESG, SSBG, just make sure that you're looking at all of those because it is a process for us to go back into the closed 2022 year. But reach out to Mike, let us know if you don't have his information, and we'll get that request processed. Okay. And Phil's ready. He's ready for that to come through with you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Really hard ones like that, the wheels were turning because I know we've done it before. But when I remember, it wasn't a pleasant process. Mm. Yeah, and from what I've seen, even if it is late, if you're still within your contract period and you technically are supposed to get paid for those items, yeah, the process might be a little difficult. But if you're entitled to that, then we'll make it work. We'll see what we can do to get that processed. Of course, Mike Gallegos and whoever the program manager would be the one to make that call, whether it would be approved or not.
Sorry, we had gremlins that took over 2 of the screenshots and one of the early, and I don't know, it translated into the Goober language, and whatever those gremlins are apparently in the walls or something. I don't know where those noises are coming from.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Well, if you have any questions that further down the road that you need, let us know, and we'll be happy to answer them.
The only thing that I'm going to ask as the fiscal team is departing is whoever is submitting your invoices, 2 things at this time of the year. First of all, whoever is the program owner or whoever wrote the grant is going to have to make you a collaborator. Because if you're doing invoices and that person hasn't made you a collaborator, you're not going to see the tab. You're not going to know where to go. So first of all, make sure that on the current contracts, if you're the fiscal person, that you are a collaborator and have access to that tab. And then secondly, your invoices are typically, they get a first review. Is Angie in here? Who's that, Angie? Let's just show her face real quick. Angie is new to us right now, and she's just started processing invoices. And so you may get a phone call or something from her if she has a question. She does the first review from a program side of it, and then she passes it off to the fiscal team. Angie. So Angie is waving here in the back in the blue suit. So if you get that first call that says, hey, your billing cover sheet doesn't have 2 signatures. Hey, where is the documentation? I can't process this. This is the face to put with that name. And then when it passes over to the fiscal team, you may get a call from Sam. You may get a call from Phil, most likely, or Mike on our team who isn't here right now. And then Susie typically deals with not so much as the invoices anymore. And we keep switching jobs. I don't even know what you're doing anymore. It's like, let's give you something else to do this week. So anyway, thank you for taking a minute to